Welcome in, along with Zach Robinson. I'm Steve Palazzolo. Today discussing the rookie quarterbacks. We're 7 weeks into the season, so we just need a little update on how the rookies are doing, Zach. So let's just start at the top of the draft. Baker Mayfield goes #1 overall to the Cleveland Browns. We talked about him a little bit on the channel last week, but let's just sum it up again. How's Baker Mayfield looking this year? PFF grades, stats, and what the film's showing us.
Yeah, I think he's played solid across the board. The last couple weeks taking a little bit of a step back. You know, when he's playing in rhythm and on time, he's really, really good. And then the last couple weeks, just offensively, they've been out of sync. The pressure's been there. And he's also got to get the ball out of his hands a little bit. He's taken the third most sacks since he started in week 3. So
it's a bad ones last week, late in the game, overtime.
Yeah, there's been some of those that just a combination of the entire offense just not quite clicking the last couple of weeks. But overall, I mean, you have to be impressed with the situation around him. I think he's played pretty well.
Yeah, and when we look at quarterbacks, you know, we said the opposite of a guy like Mitch Trubisky, who has a low grade but a really high passer rating. Mayfield's on the other end of that spectrum. He's a top 11 quarterback by our grades this year, but the passer rating down in the 30s. Yeah. So, you know, he's got the highest percentage of dropped passes so far this year. And he's definitely playing a lot better than the stats would show. Is that what we've seen so far?
No, absolutely. I think if you look at the touchdown to interception and those numbers, it looks like he's having a terrible year. But it hasn't quite captured exactly how he's played. He's still making big-time throws down the field. He has 11 of those on the season, which is middle of the pack there. So there's still a lot of good in there in his game, and I think that the stats are going to catch up over time, and we're going to see here in the next few weeks if it can.
All right, so that's Mayfield. The second quarterback off the board was Sam Darnold. It's #3 overall to the New York Jets. His season has been an interesting one as it started a little bit down. It was almost like steps. He was going down, and then he was going back up again. And then last week he ran into Mike Zimmer, that Minnesota Vikings defense. That was like what Zimmer did to Carson Wentz a couple years ago as a rookie. It's a tough matchup for any rookie. So what does the season look like for Darnold so far?
Yeah, you mentioned it. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. Second most turnover where he throws, and we saw a bunch of those last week. So it's forcing the football down the field. We saw in college happen over and over, but and just not making up for it with enough big throws down the field. He's 9 for 52 and throws in tight coverage at any level of the field, which is one of the lowest in the NFL. And really, his good games have come when he's hit deep shots down the field. And when they aren't, it's not an offense that's built to sustain drives right now. They just don't have the pieces around him, offensive line, receivers. So in order for them to play well as an offense, he has to hit those deep shots.
So we talked about Mayfield's receivers dropping a lot of passes, but Darnold doesn't necessarily have the drop numbers, but he's in a situation as well. And all these quarterbacks, it's going to be the consistent theme, right? They've all gone into situations where they don't have a great group of receivers. The offensive line's okay at best across the board for all of these guys. So they're really in some tough situations. How much is that as a factor for Darnold, say, in particular?
I think it's huge. You know, you look at the offensive line, he does need some protection to make him feel good in the pocket. You can see he doesn't trust it at times, and then that's when he kind of flings some of those things up for grabs. So the combination of that, I think scheme-wise, kind of a older school West Coast with what Darnold's running. There's not a ton of creativity. You'd like to see kind of some of those creative concepts we see across the league with the Jets. And so we'll see over time if they can kind of get some stuff going. But definitely a team right now kind of built old school, play good defense, hit a couple deep shots, and run the ball.
Most consistent thing about quarterback play, playing from a clean pocket, only a 62.1 grade so far for Darnold. Want to see that increase. He has the normal drop-off under pressure down to 47.2. That's expected, but needs to just be a little bit more efficient from a clean pocket. The third quarterback off the board in last year's draft, it was Josh Rosen, Arizona Cardinals. Wasted a couple weeks of Sam Bradford. He just waited a couple weeks, I should say. And then he gets in there. His first start was really good. Last few weeks, not as much. Another one where the supporting cast just isn't there, especially in the offensive line.
It's tough. The Seattle Seahawks game was awesome. I mean, we saw him make big throws down the field. A few of them were dropped, but ever since then, we saw the offensive line kind of show up, and he's been under pressure second most since he's taken over. 44% of his dropbacks in a tough spot. We mentioned before the draft, this is the guy of all these guys that needed the most protection up front. He's a pure progression passer, old school style, wants to hang in the pocket and work from read to read. Just does not have that right now, but he still had some big throws down the field off of play action. There's some good in there, but it's just not set up very well.
So 19% of his pressured snaps have turned into sacks. That's middle of the pack to, a little bit too high for what you want from a quarterback. How much of the pressure and some of the sacks that Rosen has taken are actually on him versus the offensive line. It was something I saw at UCLA a little bit. Holds the ball a tick longer than you'd like and doesn't have that escapability that you mentioned.
Yeah, the escapability, I think, is kind of what drops him down below a Sam Darnold, a Baker Mayfield. So we haven't seen that. He does have a tendency to hold the ball. He needs to watch as much Phillip Rivers tape as he can in the offseason and see how he gets the ball out under pressure, doesn't hold it. If he feels the rush closing in, he knows exactly where his outlets are. That's the type of player he has to be in order to have sustainable success, because he's not going to be able to hold the football and work read to read like he did a lot in college. And that's where most of his bad decisions come, is late in the down under pressure.
And his passer rating under pressure, 31.9. That is third worst in the NFL, just behind teammate Sam Bradford and behind the lowest passer rating in the NFL, that next quarterback. I went out of order, didn't I? I said Rosen ahead of Josh Allen. I screwed it all up.
Actually, yeah.
Josh Allen came off the board before.
You're thinking of your board.
I'm thinking of our board.
Yeah.
We went in the order of our board. That's what happened today. So Josh Allen, the next quarterback that we're going to discuss, he has the lowest passer rating under pressure. Of course, he's banged up. He has an injury. We could probably have a whole episode of you explaining Tommy John and the recovery. But 14.9 passer rating under pressure from Josh Allen. Overall, what have you seen from this game?
Pretty similar to, I think, most Josh Rosen with the offensive line. The pieces around him are not great at all, but even then we've seen the struggles in college of just diagnosing pre-snap and knowing where to go with the football, and then the under pressure. You mentioned 9 for 43, lowest completion percentage, lowest adjusted completion percentage. So just not making any plays when the play does break down, which is obviously a huge part of his game when he had success his junior year at Wyoming.
And just to clarify with Josh Allen, we were the ones that said, oh, look, we don't see him as a top 10 player. Maybe he's a back end of the first or second round type of player, just because there were so many question marks to his game. But there were points in the preseason where it looked really promising. His pocket movement was great, and those big time throws were there, and you still saw some of the issues. But what has been the disconnect? I know preseason's different from the regular season, but I was really encouraged by a lot of the things I saw in the pocket, at least in the preseason.
No, I thought so too. That Cleveland Browns game, the red zone play that he makes, avoiding a guy, finding the guy in the back of the end zone, some of that stuff was great. And we just haven't seen it. They're mixing up the looks on him pretty good. He's played some tough defenses. You look at the Packers team, that team moves around a ton of blitz looks. So he's had a tough go at that. The best game he played was the Vikings game, when he just simply, when it wasn't there, he took off and ran and used his legs, and then just did not force the football. So there's some good stuff to his game. I hope he gets back from his injury, because this guy needs a ton of reps, even though he's behind a tough offensive line.
Either way, he is still fun to watch, because he has those high-end plays that can really wow you. You just want to see that down-to-down consistency from Allen. Let's touch on Lamar Jackson. He's thrown a pass now. So they're moving him around, right? They're moving him around and running the ball mostly. And should he see more snaps? What's the deal with Lamar?
I think what they're doing right now is plenty. I mean, they threw in a pass last week. Actually looked pretty good doing it. Accurate throw. I know it was just a shallow cross, but you like the quarterback run game that they're doing with them. Wrinkles inside the red zone. I think that stuff's really good. But you don't want to take the ball out of your hands of your quarterback too often, but if he's getting 5 snaps a game, I think that's fine.
Yeah, tough to actually really evaluate Lamar Jackson to this point, but there you have it. That's the 5 first-round quarterbacks. Even if we did go out of order, let us know who you think has been the best rookie quarterback so far, and of course, get to ProFootballFocus.com, grab your PFF Elite package, and you guys can get all of the grades and stats to break these guys down on your own.